Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajikacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajikacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All right. No. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this 9th day of December, 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are still in chapter 13, Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness, text 34 at the bottom of page 563. And we will finish this chapter tonight, for sure. Okay. Yata Pakashayati Eka Kritsnam Lokam Imam Ravihi Chaitram, Chaitri, Tata, Kritsnam, Prakashayati, Bharata, Yata Prakashayatyeka, Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi, Chaitram Chaitri Tata Kritsnam, Prakashayati Bharata, Yata Prakashayatyeka, Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi, Chaitram Chaitri Tata Kritsnam, Prakashayati Bharata, Yata Prakashayatyeka, Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi, Chaitram Chaitri Tata Kritsnam, Prakashayati Bharata. Verdi, go ahead. Yata Prakashayatyeka, Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi, Chaitram Chaitri Tata Kritsnam, Prakashayati Bharata. Ladies. Yata Prakashayatyeka, Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi, Chaitram Chaitri Tata Kritsnam, Prakashayati Bharata. Yata Prakashayatyeka, Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi, Chaitram Chaitri Tata Kritsnam, Prakashayati Bharata. Bhakti Chad. No Bhakti Chad tonight.
Yata Prakashayatyeka.
Yata Prakashayatyeka.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, we hear you. Keep going.
Kritsnam Lok. I may have some legs, sorry. Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi.
Kritsnam Lokamimam Ravihi. Chaitram?
Chaitram Chaitri Tata Kritsnam.
Chaitram Chaitri Tata Kritsnam. Prakashayati.
Prakashayati Bharata.
Prakashayati Bharata.
I'm having leg issues.
Okay, you did okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. So,
Hare Krishna. Not the computer's having problems, sorry.
okay. So, Yata as Prakashayati illuminates Eka one Kritsnam, the whole, Lokam, universe, Imam, this Ravihi, sun, Chaitram, this body, Chaitri, the soul, Tata, similarly, Kritsnam, all, Prakashayati illuminates Bharata, O son of Bharata, descendant of Bharata. Translation. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. Purport. There are various theories regarding consciousness. Here in the Bhagavad Gita, the example of the sun and the sunshine is given. As the sun is situated in one place but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle of spirit soul, although situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the whole body by consciousness. Thus, consciousness is the proof of the presence of the soul, just as sunshine or light is the proof of the presence of the sun. When the soul is present in the body, there is consciousness all over the body, and as soon as the soul has passed from the body, there is no more consciousness. This can be easily understood by any intelligent man. Therefore, consciousness is not a product of the combinations of matter. It is the symptom of the living entity. The consciousness of the living entity, although qualitatively one with the supreme consciousness, is not supreme because the consciousness of one particular body does not share that of another body. But the Supersoul, which is situated in all bodies as the friend of the individual soul, is conscious of all bodies. That is the difference between supreme consciousness and individual consciousness. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So, this is not something we haven't heard before in the Bhagavad Gita. I think Krishna has talked about the way in which the consciousness is pervading the whole body and illuminating the body. But it's important to review these things and remind ourselves of this, that Prabhupada sometimes calls us a fragmental part of the Supreme Soul. Part and parcel is another thing he talks about. And I prefer like minute part and parcel rather than a fragmental thought, because fragment means that something was busted, was broken. Fragment, if you break a pot or something, you know, it's fragments. So we're not that, you know. We are minute particles of spirit, part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit. So we share the qualities of that Supreme Spirit. We are by nature full of bliss, but because of our minute quality or minute nature, we have lost touch with that supreme bliss, and we have settled for, we've directed our attention toward this fleeting happiness of sense gratification, which is a very poor reflection of ultimate happiness and ultimate bliss. This verse has become our theme song. It is. How does it start? See, now I am getting old. I'm getting my theme song verse, but I know the number, 522. Oh yeah. Yehi sangsparshaja boga dukkha yona evate adyantavanta kontaya nateshu ramate buddha. A wise person does not take part in the pleasures which arise from the contact of the senses with the sense objects. O son of Kunti, such pleasures are the source of all misery and have a beginning and an end, and so the wise do not delight in them. Now the question may arise, well then, how can we enjoy? That's mentioned in the previous verse. This one I know. Vayasparshesh svasaktatma vindatyatma dayat sukham sab brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Now that last 4 syllables is key. Sukham akshayam ashnute, maybe more than 4. That means enjoying unlimited and unbreakable happiness. So the first part of the verse describes Bayasparshesu. Bayasparshesu means contacting the external stimuli for sense gratification. Asaktatma, a realized soul, purely Krishna, is not attracted to that, is he? Is not looking for pleasure there. Asaktatma, vindityatmana yatsukam, enjoying the happiness within. The soul contacting the super soul, contacting Krishna through service. That's the source of unlimited happiness. Brahma yoga yuktatma. So Brahma, in its broadest sense, means the Supreme Spirit. But here Brahma means the Para-Brahma. Para-Brahman is Krishna. So Brahma yoga yuktatma. Now yoga in its original sense means to link, just like the word yoke, you know. So Brahma yoga yuktatma, he's linked his soul himself to the Supreme Brahman, Krishna, through yoga, through bhakti yoga, loving service. And therefore, sukham akshayam ashnate, he enjoys unbreakable happiness. So, no, only a fool would think that you can enjoy happiness, such unbreakable happiness, through sense gratification. Everyone knows it has a beginning and an end, and oftentimes it doesn't really work out, and it's a source of great suffering, even, you know, not ultimately, but even immediately. And so we have, you know, to this day, I mean, I grew up in the 60s, And I was so fortunate not to get too much involved in the drug culture. I will admit before God and God's devotees that I used to smoke marijuana every day. That was my failing. And we even had sometimes hashish. Oh my God, from the Middle East. So then I'll tell you, you may have heard this before. So, but everyone around me, everyone was taking LSD. If you read the Lilamrita, you see that half of the devotees or more who joined Prabhupada, they were, interested in God because they took some LSD. And so, but Prabhupada made it very clear, no drugs, no illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, meat eating. And intoxication was a big thing. So they took shelter of the holy name. Those who really lasted, because many came and then they left and they didn't come back, to the storefront. But there were a core who became very serious, obviously, and they became the seeds of the the temple in San Francisco we started. So they were getting the higher taste and of Krishna consciousness, the kirtan and mostly kirtan, and especially when they started going out, there was a lot of resistance to that, to go out publicly, especially wearing these weird clothes, but they did it for Swamiji, and they found it was very blissful. So the point is that they learned how to tap into that source of pleasure, the reservoir of pleasure, the famous little pamphlet that we wrote. The reservoir of pleasure. And they even suggested a pamphlet that they could hand out on the street in Lower East Side. And the title of the pamphlet was Stay High Forever. Stay high forever. You see, rather than up and down, up and down. And I said, yes, a very good idea. And they made thousands of those. I wish I had one of them left. I never saw it, but I know about it. And that was an attraction, because that was the attraction. You get high here and there, but of course, it always meant coming down, So that's the whole point. Forever, stay high and get high and stay high. And so that's what the whole point is. This, is that when we read about this, and those two verses in the 5th chapter, which are key, and that theme is the same thing, is that one who understands the nature of the soul. That we were not the body, we are a spirit, pure spirit, animating the body, and that we're transmigrating even in this body. That's Krishna used that analogy. Dehi nosmin yada dehi komadam yovanam jada tata dehandara prabdi dhiras tattva namuyati. So this is, I told Joseph, you may know Joseph, Bhakta Naga. I told him it's not a very good, I mean, that was his nickname. But Naga just means snake, Yeah. I mean, we have Shesha Naga, the transcendental snake, with many hoods, and he's holding up the universe. That's one thing. But just Naga. So I said, what's your real name? So Joseph, Bhakta Joe. You'll be Bhakta Joe. We have Joseph next door. You'll be Bhakta Joe. Very sincere soul. And he has a very nice voice. He's going to be a nice kirtan leader. He's already leading kirtan, but he likes to sing very low, too low, So just sing a little higher, So anyway, I gave him an assignment to memorize this verse. This is often the first verse devotees learn. It's 2:13. Dehi nosmin yata dehi komaram yona. So we'll work on to see if he did it. So the point is that the knowledge that we can get from Bhagavad Gita is the foundation upon which we can build the practice. Because the knowledge means, okay, if you want to really realize the knowledge, then you have to practice. But when we know a little bit about, the soul, the super soul, Krishna, who's the source of everything, a little bit. Then you can have faith in that knowledge when you associate with those who are faithful. Now, the most important association is Prabhupada, through his books. There's no doubt, his writings, that's one thing. You never say, well, it could be this way, it could be that way, we're not quite sure. Nothing like that. You read any of his books. He's always citing superior authority. Krishna, and in the Bhagavad Gita, or, so many authorities in the Acharyas, in the Bhagavatam, like that. And by accepting it, even theoretically, and say, okay, I'll try it. let me try the chanting, and like this. And so. And if you do it, you're going to be swept up in it. You feel something, And that is meant to nourish your faith. That is for real. And it's just like, the drug culture is like that too. Hey, let's try this, I don't know. My parents said this thing. No, it's really good. You get out, So you try to say, oh, yeah, it's pretty good, That's cool. And that's how you get sucked in. That's Maya's trick. She allures you with the promise of happiness and pleasure, knowing that you have that desire from the original place in the spiritual world. But this pleasure is the source of all suffering. Because why does it say source of all suffering? Because even if you have you eat a couple of chocolate cookies or something, all right, so then it's not like it's going to immediately produce suffering. But what it does do, it plants a desire seed for having more chocolate cookies. I know it very well. I told you I was a chocolate addict when I was a kid. So that goes on and on, and eventually you can get sick, you're fat, whatever. But besides that, it'll bring you back to another material body. Because you'll die thinking of chocolate cookies. And where can you get them? You have to get them by coming back, and you may not be a human being, So once you know the science here, you say, oh, I see, this pleasure that I'm getting in Krishna consciousness, I should cultivate that more and more. So that ultimately, and I read this again this morning. I've told you about this before. There's this one little excerpt from one of the Sandarbhas that's there in the purport to a famous verse in the second canto. And the verse goes like this: Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Now this verse comes at the end of a whole series of verses where it's interesting. Right there in the Bhagavatam, he starts listing all of these things, almost like a shopping list. Do you want a good wife? Then worship Uma. If you want strong senses, then worship Indra. And they have a whole list of demigods and goddesses you can worship if you want this, want that, want this, or that. So what is this doing in the Bhagavatam? Well, you have to read and keep reading in context, So, but then ultimately it ends with this verse. It says, but akama sarvakamo va. But whether you're free of all kinds of material desires, or full of all kinds of material desires, free or full, or you want mukti, which is another thing you can desire, which is kind of spiritual, but ultimately it's not. At the beginning of the Bhagavatam, the second verse of the whole Bhagavatam says, Dharma projita kaita tra. Now the word tra is short for atra. Means here in the Bhagavatam, all cheating religions are kicked out. Yeah. Now he said, well, what's the cheating religion? So Prabhupada quotes in the purport from Sridhar Swami, I believe, who's the first authoritative commentator on the Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya accepted him as such. And he pointed out that the desire for mukti is also a cheating religion, just desiring for one's own liberation. And that's reiterated in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, where he's praying to Lord Nrsingadev. You know the pastime, you must know it because you saw the movie. Didn't you see the movie? Yeah. Okay, we'll refer to the movie. The movie is great, So, Prahlad is so pure and tolerant, he's getting tortured, but he's Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You remember that? So, eventually, of course, we know what happens, that Nrsingadev appears from the pillar. Are you going to stay in class? Just a little bit? Okay, because the ladies usually sit on this side. Is that okay? You're an old timer, you know that. Come on, you've been around. Yeah, you can sit there. Ami's not going to show up tonight. So anyway, what happens in the book? Because the prayers aren't there in the movie so much, but in the Bhagavatam, after Nrsingadev kills Hiranyakashipu, and there's all these demigods plus the goddess of fortune is there trying to pacify him with prayers at a distance, because he's still raging, he's still, he's so angry. And they offer these prayers from a distance, but he doesn't get pacified. So finally they say, Prahlad, you go. He likes you. You know, see, maybe you. And sure enough, Prahlad goes, completely fearless, you know. And as soon as Nrsingadev sees him, he turns into Komala Nrsinga. The Komala Nrsinga means soft, gentle Nrsinga, which we don't see much. But there's paintings of him and also murtis. But mostly we see, you know, Ugra Nrsinga. So he goes and he starts offering his prayers. I don't know if he did any prayers in the movie. One or two maybe. He did some? Okay. So, but in the Bhagavatam, there's like 40, 50 prayers. And near the end of those prayers, he refers to the same point about how mukti can be, it's a very selfish desire. You see? I want to. So here's the prayer. And it's a prayer for preaching, for Lord Chaitanya's movement. Prayena deva munayo sava mukti kama. Maunam chadandi bhajanet napararta nishta. Naitan vihaya kapana vimamuksha eko nanyan todasti shadanam brahmato anupashe. So the first thing, prayena, for the most part, almost always, oh Lord, Deva, the munis, these sages, you know, yogis, svamukti kama. They're lusty, you know, for their own mukti. In other words, he's characterized, this is a material desire, for their own, and only for their own liberation. And he reiterates what he means there in the next line. Maunam, they stay silent. That's actually the source of the word muni, is those who stay silent. You know, they just meditate, you don't hear them. Maunam chadandi vijane. So they wander alone in silence where there's no people. Vijane, where there's no people. In other words, they go to the Himalayas or some place, you know, and you never hear from them again. Vijane napararta nishta, very important phrase. It means not at all determined to help others. Simply, I want my mukti, you know. So then Prahlad distinguishes himself from those munis. Naitan vihaya kupanan vimamuksha eko nanyan tradasi shadanam brahmato nupashe. But I am not going to abandon these, you know, fools and rascals who are just taking part in sense gratification and suffering just after my own vimamuksha eko, looking for my own liberation alone. No, no, no. Because I see that no one but you can help them, and I have to give them you. That's basically, I have to be like, you know, a preacher for you, O Lord, and just like Prabhupada did. They have no other hope. Otherwise, they're just going to, you know, that'll be, a few will look for mukti, and most of them will just stay completely conditioned in material world. So this is the preacher's determination. But in the previous verse, he says, Naid Vijay Padadodatya Vaitaran Tradviyagayana Mahamata Bhagna Chitta. He's speaking directly to Nrsingadev, who's in his, you know, loving, you know, gentle form for Prahlad, who he loves. I am not at all disturbed by this material world. How could he be? He's already been through, they tried to put him into the boiling oil. I don't think I could take that very well. Boiling oil, crush him under the elephant's foot, you know, puncture him, all kinds of, throw him off a cliff, whatever they had, you know. And he did, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudeva. It shows in the movie. He wasn't damaged. So that's why it's Naibod Vijay. I'm not at all disturbed because I'm with you. My consciousness is always with you, and you live across the Vaitarani River. The Vaitarani River is the barrier between the material and the spiritual world. You're in the spiritual world. I'm always with you because I'm meditating on you all the time. So I have no problems. I'm not at all disturbed. And then, what do I do for enjoyment? I immerse my mind in an ocean of nectar by glorifying your exploits, your form and everything. Virya Gayana, singing them. So I have no problem. But Shochetito, and this is, what do you mean? He said, I am lamenting. What do you mean you're lamenting? It says right here in the 18th chapter, Brahmabhuta Prasanama, na Shochati na Kanchati. Those who are in Brahmabhuta and God consciousness, they don't lament for anything. What are you lamenting about? I'm lamenting for these souls who don't know you. Shochetito vimukha indriyata. Vimukha cetasa literally means to turn your face away from God. Vimukha, you know, vimukha cetasa. For the sake of sense gratification. Indriyartha, for the sake of the senses. And Shocheta vimukacheta indriyata maya sukaya bonamudvahito vimudhan. These fools, not just fools, but very foolish souls, vimudhan. Maya sukaya bonam, they're bearing the great burden of trying to enjoy maya sukaya, the illusory happiness of sense gratification, and suffering like anything, as is explained here. So what am I going to do about it? Just say, well, heck with you, I'm going to wander around in him. No. The next verse he says, I have to, take on the burden. As Prabhupada said, a poem he wrote when he landed in New York. Actually, Boston, I'm sorry, the first place he landed. And he took a walk. As soon as they would land, he would get off the ship because the ship was, too much. So he took a walk and he saw, it wasn't New York, but it was like New York, people running around trying to enjoy it. And he got back on the ship and he wrote this wonderful song called Markani Bhagavad Dharma, means Krishna consciousness in America, in the West. And he says, you brought me to this place, I don't know how I can help them, it's so they can't. So then he said, but by your power, since you brought me here, I'll be your puppet, and you can make me dance as you like, O Lord, And this way I can somehow give them you. So it's a very important, lesson for us. And that's really what he did. It was just a lot of austerity, and he took on for the sake of us, for the sake of delivering Krishna to us. So that's the lesson. And here, let's see. So did we do 34? Yeah. So as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So we have we're all like sentenced in one sense to a body. We have a body. And it means that we're in illusion, deep illusion, when we take birth, without any Krishna consciousness. But by the effort of the devotees, great devotees like Prabhupada and those who follow him and try to be, those who are fortunate are receptive to the message, at least to the degree of finding out about it. There's something in the devotee that meets them on the street with the book, or in the chanting that they see, or whatever it is, that says, well, this is intriguing, let me investigate. And that's Krishna from within, giving the hint. And then if they're fortunate enough to get a book and read or meet with the devotees, and especially if they're willing to take part in the chanting, or at least hear it, you see, then they start to awaken. The spiritual nature starts to awaken. And that's the planting of the seed, the famous planting of the seed Lord Chaitanya speaks about. In the teachings to Rupa Goswami, there's this verse that he tells him, he says, Brahmanda Brahmate Kon, Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasadai Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. This is Bengali. So Brahmanda means Brahma's egg. I mean, this universe is like an egg. When you study it, it's got a covering on it, These coverings of earth, water, fire, air, ether. And each one is 10 times bigger than the last. So there's a little space in the middle and a big fat covering here. We're all trapped in here. And and Brahma is the chief living entity. He's got 4 heads, he helps propagate and everything. He's actually the head of our sampradaya. So Brahmite Kon. Brahmite means wandering. We've been wandering up and down this universe, species to species, planet to planet, on not knowing what we're doing. You're just trying to enjoy and suffering, dying, going on, like that. So the wandering souls, we're all wandering. Brahmande Brahmate Kon, Bhagyavan Jeev, the fortunate jiva, the fortunate soul. Guru Krishna Prasade, by the mercy of both the Guru and the Krishna. So Krishna sends the Guru, and Guru points us to Krishna. So what do we get? Bhakti Lata Bija. Very nice analogy, a metaphor. The seed of the creeper of devotion. Yes, a Bhakti Lata is the creeper of devotion that grows within our heart. And it's the growing of the desire to serve Krishna, to learn, to beginning to take pleasure more and more in Krishna's pleasure. You see, that's the definition of pure bhakti. There's a little phrase that I was quoting this morning, and it's kind of a condensation or a summary of a verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion, which defines the whole goal of what we're looking for. Because what did Lord Chaitanya came? The whole goes back to Lord Chaitanya. He came to give the greatest treasure. He's the most magnificent avatar. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Badayate. This is Rupa Goswami's verse. I think he wrote it on the spot. Oh, I offer my obeisances. He was offering, I think, dandavats at the time. Namo Mahavadanyaya. Maha means the greatest. Vadanya. Dana is a gift. Vadanya means one who is very generous. Munificent is the word. He's the most munificent avatar of Krishna. And Krishna himself will say that is so. Mahavadanyaya. Why is he most magnificent? Krishna Prema Padayate. Because he's giving Krishna Prema, the most valuable thing. I'll go back to my morning walk. I get to the corner here. Do you know that it's $960 million is the jackpot? Did you know that? Nobody won. Nobody's winning them. You know, it's $1 trillion and one that you can win, so it keeps going up. So, you know, I mean, just laugh. These people, I can win, they scrape up their money and they buy their ticket and they lose. But we've won. We've got that seed planted. We have to water the seed nicely. But the ultimate value in this world is Krishna Prema, and it's out of this world. It's a source of unlimited happiness forever. Never coming down. No coming down, you see. So, but it's like a plant. In other words, it's a creeper of desire. Because we're in the material world, we're full of these material desires, and they keep us coming back again and again. So we have to purify the desires, or this word, which is perfectly suited to this. It's not sanctified. What is it? It's. I can't stand it. I got to stand on my head more, get my brain working. Anyway, it means spiritualize. That's what it basically means. Huh? Sublimate. Sublimate. It's a verse, an actual word. And it's used actually in psychology, where you basically try to get you from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion. Then, oh yeah, you're cured now. Now you can go out and get a good job. Yeah. But no, we don't want that. We want to sublimate it all the way to spiritual desires, so that we can actually follow this beautiful phrase written by Jiva Goswami. Bhajaniya Padamapurusha Sukhamatra Swasukat Vam. Which means, Bhajaniya is the worshipable Padamapurusha Supreme Person. It's Krishna. Sukhamatra, only his happiness. We find our happiness only in giving him happiness. That's what pure devotion means. And because his ability to enjoy is infinite, we can find our happiness expanding and expanding, so it doesn't have to end. That's really what real bhakti is. And so the planting of that seed, so what Lord Chaitanya is saying here is that the fortunate soul, by the mercy of a guru who's preaching, he gets the seed of this bhakti planted in the form of a little faith in chanting the holy name, like that, you see. And then we have to cultivate that seed, mostly by the process of hearing and chanting. And we have to pull out the weeds that will choke that plant that's growing, which are the offenses to devotees, offenses to holy name, offenses to the deities. There's nectar of devotion. Rupa Goswami wrote what offenses are. And if we're fortunate enough and water the seed with a lot of hearing and chanting and other services, it grows and grows and grows, and eventually he says, it pierces the covering of the universe and takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet and manifests the fruit, the everlasting, ripe, tasty fruit of pure love for Krishna, Krishna Prema, which we can eat to our heart's content forever in a varieties of ways. Always on that pleasure, well, what will make Krishna happy? And he finally, one of the things that makes him happy is joining him in his pastimes and all the things there. And that's the whole process. It's like metaphorical, but it's really what's happening. So, but it all begins with understanding the basics of how we're not the body, we're pure spirit soul, we're part and parcel of Krishna, and he is the source of everything, and he's always with us as the super soul. And we can contact him. And this is another thing Lord Chaitanya teaches Sanatan, that since we're so conditioned, we can't access the spiritual teachings of the super soul. He's giving us, knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. He's guiding us. But he really wants to guide us in this knowledge, but we can't hear it. So he comes outside as the Acharya, like Srila Prabhupada, and as the books, as the Shastra. Sometimes he comes personally, but he leaves the books like this Bhagavad Gita. So we can actually take real instruction from the Super Soul for our ultimate benefit by absorbing the knowledge of these books, putting it into practice, giving it to others, and coming to class as much as possible, as you are already doing. Okay, any questions on this verse? Maybe I should read the last verse too. There's only one more. Wake up? Okay. Everybody dies. Nobody dies. Wake up, open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. Luis knows it. He knew it was coming, so he walked in. All right, listen, I want to do something special tonight. This is a story. You can, Vijay Prabhu, he has a what do you call it, email tree. Stories he gathers, they send them in from different parts of the world, a book distribution. This one is pretty amazing. Did you see the one today? Oh God, this is amazing. So I saved it here, and if you'll allow me to read it, it's pretty miraculous, to say the least.
Know thyself? That one?
What is it?
Know thyself?
No. The subject is called From Beckham, who's a big soccer player, famous, From Beckham to Bhagavad Gita, how a tattoo trend turned into bhakti. So here's the story. It won't take, we can finish it in time. So this is all written into Vijay. He's just sent it out. There's an old saying in the Hare Krishna movement: give someone one of Srila Prabhupada's books, and you're actually giving them Krishna. Close quote. Not just a story about Krishna, not even a souvenir related to Krishna, but Krishna himself packed into every syllable like a divine USB drive. Srila Prabhupada would say that Krishna is fully present in every word of his books, which means, by this logic, that distributing a Bhagavad Gita is only slightly less intense than handing someone a deity for their altar. And here is where our story begins. Years ago, a young Brazilian man bought one of these books from a devotee in Portuguese. At the time, he probably thought it was exotic, mysterious, or at least stylish enough to impress someone. When he took it home, he didn't read it. He didn't even open it. He simply placed it on a shelf where it sat patiently for a full decade, like a spiritual time bomb waiting to go off. Now, if you know anything about Brazil, you know they take football, that means soccer, very seriously. Very seriously. It's practically a scientific religion with its own high priests, one of whom, in the early 2000s, was David Beckham, known worldwide not only for his free kicks, but also for the Sanskrit tattoo on his back. I didn't know anything about that. Did you know about that? Okay, well. Our Brazilian friend saw this tattoo and thought, I want one too. Sanskrit looks amazing. And hey, don't I have a book somewhere with those funny curly letters in it? A lesser man would have Googled cool Sanskrit tattoo. A wiser man would have consulted a Sanskrit scholar. But our hero, he went to his bookshelf. He dusted off the 10-year-old book, which he hadn't looked at, opened it, and instead of flipping straight to the index of possible tattoo ideas, he's just joking, he began to read. The plan was simple. Find a phrase that looked deep enough to put permanently on his skin. Something like, fear no man, trust no one. You know, these are classic things. Or the classic, my mom says I'm special. I'm completely out of that culture. I never even considered being there. But Krishna, as you know, has a sense of humor and impeccable timing. As our student read, something happened. The words weren't just words. Remember, Prabhupada said Krishna is present in every word of his books, which basically makes every page a theological surprise box. And the moment this man opened the book, it wasn't simply Sanskrit letters anymore. It was Krishna's mother speaking, because the scriptures are the Vedic mother who introduces us to Krishna. So he read, then he read some more, and then He didn't want a tattoo anymore. He wanted Krishna. Within months, he became a devotee. Within a short time after that, his whole family became devotees. And today, more than 10 years later, they're still living in the temple. All because a book distributed long ago finally decided to activate itself. That is the power of Srila Prabhupada's books. As the old devotees used to say, especially in those incredible early days of preaching, just give someone a book. Krishna will take care of the rest. And sometimes he takes care of it in very unexpected, wonderfully humorous ways, like starting with a tattoo. And that's the story. You know, this is the marathon going on. So.
Did you tell us the story about, like, somebody died and their son or somebody went into the garage and a Gita fell off on the shelf?
You know, I didn't know about the person dying, but I did hear about the book falling off, hitting him in the head. Yeah. And he said, what? Oh, well, let me check it out. Oh, you know, yeah, there's all kinds of stories like that. Yeah, I, you know, of course, it was blessed with the Prabhupada's books, but I had a kind of a circuitous route. I was, anyway, let's see how much time. Okay, it's 8:02. So this is going back now to 72. And anyway, I think I mentioned I had a serious case of hepatitis for a month, you know. I came back, I was staying at my parents' place, and I said, I got to get some way of getting my health back, you know. And yoga was just starting to come, you know, up. And not in Hempstead. I mean, forget that. I had to go into the Yellow Pages, find a place in Manhattan, you know. So I had a car, so I would drive in, and it happened to be a devotee whose name now is Amala Bhakta Swami, who's famous. He's in L.A. He's been there for quite a few years. He was called Shiva Prem Swami at that time. And so I started with the asanas and this and that. But there was a little twist because I learned later that he had some exposure to bhakti. So he introduced us to my first Krishna mantra. It wasn't Hare Krishna. It was Apavitro pavitro va sarvavastam gatopi va yaksmade pundarikshaksham sabaya vyantara shichihi, which you know. You'll be chanting it in your initiation. It means whether impure or pure, or you've been to all different situations, anyone who chants the name of Pundarikaksha, the lotus-eyed Lord, it's a name for Krishna, Pundarikaksha, becomes purified within and without, you know. So that was, he taught us that, and I would chant it here and there. I don't think I knew what it meant. Anyway, I got tired of that because it was on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. If you know, that's where all the wealthy people live. So it was all middle-aged ladies trying to lose weight, you know. So I said, oh, let me go to the West Side. That's where the youngsters are, you know. I got involved over there. And they had integral yoga. It was called integral yoga. So we did the asanas and the stretching and everything. Then we did a little breathing, you know. And then we did some chanting. And we had different mantras. Om, forgive me, Krishna. Om Namo Shivaya, Om Namo Shivaya, like that. And a little Hare Krishna was there. And then we meditated. Tried to meditate anyway. And you could pick a mantra for your meditation. So I said, I didn't know how to pick a mantra, so I tried Om, you know. It's really hard to just meditate in Om, 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 you know. So eventually, I got to their bookstore. They had a book, you know, gift shop. And that's where I first saw the first picture of Krishna, which is this beautiful painting of Krishna Balaram. Bhardraj was the one who came up with that idea of Balaram. Bhardraj was a painter, he's also a sculptor. And he had that, you know, where Balaram has his arm on Krishna's shoulder. Have you ever seen? Yeah. And that's the deities. The deities in I think in Alatra, as well as the deities in the original Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan have that. So it was a beautiful painting. Krishna's smiling, you know, and he had a flute. Is that flute? I was a flute player. Yeah. And I'll bring it one time to play. And I said, wow, God is a flute player? So that really interested me, you know. And then there was also a pamphlet about the glories of the Hare Krishna mantra, because Satchidananda was the guru, but his guru had started an ashram in South Africa. There were a lot of Indians living in South Africa at that time. And it said for 25 years, they were chanting Hare Krishna nonstop. I bet at the middle of the night it was a recording, you know, probably. But anyway, so then there were all these people who I'd never heard of before. They were all describing the glories of the Hare Krishna mantra. So maybe that's my mantra. You know, I should start meditating on that. And then I got involved with Ramakrishna mission, and there was a fellow there who called himself Gandhi, who was a Ram, a Ram Bhakta, and he saw that I liked to hear the Leela. So and then in one day, he said, why don't we go down to the Hare Krishna temple in Brooklyn? He didn't have a car, but I did. So I've been chanting that mantra. I said, okay, you know. So I went down there, and it was too much, overload. You know, I got just at the end of the kirtan, there were the deities, you know, because I was more into philosophy and everything. And then there were these guys in orange carrying these huge plates, you know, and all I was doing was drinking carrot juice and eating salads. I was just a raw foodist. So anyway, I went downstairs. I couldn't eat this, couldn't eat this, couldn't eat this, couldn't eat. They said, try the halva a little bit, you know. I said, okay. You know, so I tried it. Whoa. And that was it. You know, they gave me a big half-gallon thing for the week, you know, I could take it. It lasted me 2 or 3 days. Anyway, so the rest is history, as they say eventually. I don't tell the whole story. I lost my job. But, so that's, you know, the seed was planted. That's the point. The seed gets planted, but somehow or other by a book or by a devotee, you know. And if you take it and you start watering that seed by chanting, and you try to, you know, read and you learn the do's and the don'ts, and you know, you're serious about it, then it doesn't matter who you are or where you're coming from. You will progress. That creeper will grow nicely. And if you do it, eventually you can start tasting the fruit of love of Godhead. And that's what we're all about. So, we still have time for one little poem? It's 8:07 I have here. Okay. So, let's see. You know, I've got my thing here. There's various poems that I wrote. Okay, there's it. Yeah. Okay. So this one, you can't see this picture. Well, maybe you can a little bit. Can you see Krishna, if you know the painting, is Krishna swinging with his friends in the trees? Yeah, this is a famous painting. You've seen that before. All right, so just keep that in mind. This poem was about that painting. For Krishna and his multitude of friends, a festival of joy each day would bring. A special thrill in Braja's forest glens was riding with him high upon a swing. Now Krishna is speaking to his friends. O Ujjvala, Sridhama, Bhadrasena, just see Vrindavan's bountiful delights. The peacock's dance, the songbird's sweet refrain, the lakes and hills and other scenic sights. All these make this the best place on the earth for us to play all day and herd the cows. Thus Krishna, in the mood of sportive mirth, enthused his friends while swinging from the boughs. So we'll meditate on that. And, well, we still have time for a short one. Another short one. Okay. So, several verses from the Shikshasaka, not the first one, no. We'll start with the third one. Trinada Bisunichena, Todaropi Sahishnana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadaharihi. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, to think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant his name incessantly until the final hour. Now what should we pray for? Lord Chaitanya teaches us, Nadanang, Nadanang, Nasundaring Kapitam Bhajagadisha Kamaye, Mamajan Manijan Manishwade, Bhavata Bhaktada Hoituki Tvahi. Wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. And then the third prayer, another prayer. Ainannatanuja kinkaram patitam mamashame bhavambudo Kripayatavapada pankajastita duli sadusham vichindaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. Tears streaming from my eyes, my voice choked with bliss, the hair upon my body standing up in happiness. When will all these signs of rapture decorate my limbs as I chant your holy name, the monarch of all hymns? Every moment drags on like a dozen years or more. From the rain clouds of my eyes the tears in torrents pour. This whole creation is nothing but a vast and joyless void. Oh Govinda, by your absence I am being destroyed. Let Madhava embrace this maid who's fallen at his feet, or let him trample me on my most ardent hopes' defeat. Yet though it's cruel and... No. What is it? The Madhava embraces made his fallen at his feet. I let him tremble in my utmost heat. He is a restless libertine and not a saint. For Krishna is a restless libertine and not a saint, so let him act in any way he likes without restraint. Yet though his cruel and crooked ways may cause me constant woe, Krishna is the only Lord my heart shall ever know. So check it out. You seen it on YouTube? Yes. Check it out.
That's one of the songs you sung at the whole program.
I did. But check it out on YouTube, because on YouTube, I'm doing it in a temple in Mayapur with hundreds of devotees. Yeah. Okay. All glories to Prabhupada. Okay.